Okay, so at the beginning we have to discuss how to start our character, and you've got few ways to do this. You can start, for example, from a simple box. You might think that creating a complete character just from a simple box it is difficult, because as you see we've got not enough geometry to play with and to create our details. I think this method becomes often used by the artist since we've got in Zbrush a tool called Dynamesh. You can set your resolution, for example, to 32 and press Dynamesh. And Zbrush has created new geometry. We've got now good polygon topology. We've got enough geometry to add our details. And that's what we want to. I think this method is very good, but it is for more experienced artists that have some basic knowledge of sculpting, and they are able to create a complete character from a simple object like cube. So they have no problems with creating a human figure, for example. They understand anatomy and they are just more experienced. For someone who is really beginner, there are probably other methods that are easier to approach. So one of these methods is creating your base mesh and then export this base mesh created in other 3D application like Maya or 3ds Max, and take this mesh from this program to Zbrush and then subdivide it, add details and do your work. Let's switch to Maya. And you might think this is too simple, of course, but some people are starting from something like this. So you can subdivide it, of course, export to the Zbrush and play with it. I think this mesh is too poor to be really useful. You still have to create all volumes and create a good silhouette of the character. So it's a lot of work. Of course you can use Dynamesh with it to create fingers and other parts of the body. For simple meshes like this, we have in Zbrush a great tool, and it's called Z-Spheres. And this tool is great for creating a simple and a little bit more advanced meshes that you can play with later. If you are not familiar with Z-Spheres, I encourage you to visit Pixologic website, and they've got some movies to introductions to Z-Spheres, so I encourage you to watch all of them. So let's switch to Zbrush and I will show you some basics of using Z-Spheres. We can draw some Z-Spheres. We can move them, scale them. We can, of course, create a complete character using Z-Spheres. Let's create a little spine. So let's say we want something like this. And of course, we've got to convert our Z-spheres to standard polymesh to work with it, to add details, to subdivide it. So we can preview now how this mesh will look like pressing A. And now you see this is a preview of the polymesh. If you want to create this polymesh, you have some options here: unified skin and adaptive skin. You can hit A and this is this button preview. If you want to convert this to the polymesh, you hit just make adaptive skin in this case, and you've got here your mesh. You can subdivide it, add details to this little skeleton. Another great tool in Z-spheres is something like volumes Z-spheres. You press Shift A and now you can paint volumes. This tool is really great for designing process. You can create and design almost anything you want. You can design cool creatures, insects, bugs and stuff like this. You can paint something like muscles. You can smooth them. You've got lots of tools to use this Z-spheres. So you've got lots of freedom using this tool. So let's hit preview and we will see how our mesh will look like. If you press A, now we have a preview of the mesh. Press A again and we're back to Z-spheres. Now I'm going to show you another great option. If we turn off Edit Sketch and press Show Sketch, we now see Z-spheres in something like X-ray mode. We hit Move, and as you see, our Z-spheres is staying on its place, but our armature is moving. And to change this, we hit Bind button, and now if we move our arms, everything is moving as we want to. So we can pose our character after sketching these spheres. It's not a problem. You can design this way a little bit effective. So that was these spheres, and the last method of starting your character, and this last one method is for me the best option. You can just, as I said, start your 3D mesh in other 3D application like Maya or 3ds Max, create your character, a base character in this program, and then take it to the Zbrush to add details. And in this case, we want to create in external 3D application a very good representation of what we want to achieve. So let's say we are making a human figure, so we have to make something like this, and this model comes with Zbrush. So that's it. and you have to create something like this, and then if you want to create a character, you use this base mesh to sculpt and to add details to it. You can take it, of course, to Maya. Let's do this. And the best thing about this method is that we've got, in this case, very good topology. We've got already face, everything is on place. Edge and polygon topology is very important, because if we will refine these details, we will have no problem with doing this. And of course, the most important thing is you create something like this once, and every time you wanna do a human figure, you reuse this mesh, and you have to only change some proportions, scale some parts of the body. And in our next video we will be using this human figure. We will be, of course, as I said, scaling some parts, like for example arms, and we will be trying to match our design. Our character will be a little bit different, it will be a little bit more cartoon. This figure is more like a realistic human figure, so we will be changing proportions. So see you in next video.